All right, so I guess we're close enough to the start time. So basically what we're going to do today is go over that review I sent you via email, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour ago or whatever it was now. And what that is it's a sample exam. So the questions will be similar, not always exact because I have groups of kind of questions. So while you might see this one here might be a multiplication, there might also be one where you have to divide. And so instead of taking the 12 minus 5i times it, maybe you have to divide by it. And so there's going to be differences like that. Um, so the numbers will be different too because it's going to be algorithmically generated, and so they'll have that. But overall, it's really the same exam. So what we'll do is I will put one up here, and then what you need to do is you need to work it, and then whoever gets the answer first can. I think there's this called, if you go into your thing, it should be a thing called annotate. And if you want to go ahead and start annotating on the screen and writing what you think the answer is and how to get to it, you can do that. So
Wait, like on the PDF or like on here?
on here, you can if you have a writing thing on your computer, you can write on this. You just have to go up to the where the Zoom meeting is, and then click on annotate, and it'll let you annotate. I did that the other day when I was meeting with Whitney. So if somebody wants to try it,
Can you see what we write?
I should be able to.
Weird.
Yeah. Yep, I can see it. So yeah,
But we
so
can't all write on it, right?
yeah, you could all write on all at once, and then it'll one thing I should note is you should write out how you got to that.
Oh, that'll take forever. I gotta use my mouse for that.
Well, you've got the answer key, so I mean, you could just write the answer down and say, "Yep, I got it."
Oh no. Okay. That's a lot of writing. Okay, hold
It
on.
shouldn't be too much. I mean,
Like 6 lines of writing. Five.
it should be three max.
I mean, like I could condense it.
Because you just FOIL. You take this times this,
Yeah,
and then
I
that
write
times
it
that.
out just to make sure I'm doing it right. So like it's more because I don't want to mess it up in my head.
Uh, All right, that looks good. Anybody else have questions on that one?
And yeah, that was a plus. Sorry, that
Yeah,
was
I saw a really little small thing there, but I was like, we better make it a
comfortable to
little
write
bit
that with
bigger.
a trackpad. I don't have a mouse. I just have a trackpad, and I don't know how to like open this up on my iPad where I actually have my Apple Pencil. So,
Oh, okay. All right, so that's the first one. Now you're gonna have to now you're gonna have to erase everything.
oh no.
You just hit clear all, and it just does it all at once. There you go. See. All right, so here's the next one.
Am I supposed to be able to do this algebraically? Because I only like I can do it graphically, but I wouldn't. I don't really know how to do it.
You can part of it you're gonna get algebraically, and part of it you can do al graphically. So it depends on how you want to do it. Because I think what you need to do first is you need to solve when that's equal to 0. So what you're gonna have is you're gonna have your 0 equals minus 4.9 t squared plus
For
2.
the intercept, right? The x-intercept.
Yeah.
But like if on a graph, you could just like see it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
on a graph, you could get that intercept and get it right away. But this one, all you have to do is you just do your x equals a minus 238 plus or minus the square root of 238 squared minus 4
Is it
times minus.
wrong to just do it graphically?
Mm, not. I would say this part you should probably do by hand just because it's easy to show. And then the other part you can do graphically, and then this will be 2 times negative 4.9. And so then you just plug that in your calculator and you get your x equals. And what is the, if I plug that in, I got 49.28
Yeah, that's what I
seconds.
got on Desmos.
Yeah, and so that's what I got on my that. And so then the other way is then you need to go, and if you don't want to do the all the longhand version algebraically for getting where it's how high above sea level it is, what you can do is go to your TI and type in your equation,
Well,
which was
Desmos not find that only the TI one because the TI one's kind of a pain to type on
uh,
my because my I have like the Inspire, but it's dead and I don't know where the charger is. So I downloaded the thing that you're using.
yeah, and it's a pain to do, but it's not impossible. And I've actually done a lot of it on here instead of uh, using my own hand calculator, just because it's there. So
I just don't like typing X. You have to hit alpha every time, and I
yeah,
hate
well,
this
yeah,
bit.
you have to hit that on when you type it in the computer on your calculator anyway. So, and then what are we gonna probably do? We're gonna have some big numbers for our windows. So I don't know. Let's say many minus 100. I don't know what the max is going to be. Maybe I don't know, 100. Let's go by 50s. Minimum, I don't know. It's going to be maybe 200. Max is going to be thousands. So let's start with 3 and see where we're at. Let's go by, I don't know, 400. And we're still not even max here. So let's go down to here and maybe let's put 4,000. Oops, 400 I see I put instead. And so now we have what our graph looks like. So here we could do, everything we needed to do. We could say, okay, let's do our trace, and we want to find the 0 is first one. And if we want to find the 0 on the right side over here, which is what we just did by the calculation, we'd have that, and then that would be our other one, and then we just say, that's our choice, and we got our 49.28, and that's what that point is. So that's when it's going to hit back to wherever was doing the ocean or whatever we're doing. And so then the other thing we need to do is we need to find the max, and that's the 4. And so now we need to go, oops, I must have hit the wrong button there. I might as well hit enter and enter again. Yeah, I know. And so do trace 4 max. So maybe use that. Go over here somewhere, and somewhere here in the middle. And so it says our max is at 24.28 seconds. It's going to be a max of 3,061 feet, meters, whatever we're at. So let's go back. So over here, we got this, also by calculator, but then we also found that at 24 point, what was it, 29, I think it was 3,061. And so that was our point. And so how high above sea level does it rocket reach? Its highest point is 3,061 meters. It is meters. I wondered because feet didn't make any sense at all. And so that would be the highest point. And, it's at that many seconds, but this is the point where it, splashes down, and that's what the other second was. So it's going to be splashed down in the ocean. That's number 1. And then the second one is the highest point is at that position there. Okay. So yeah, you could get them both directly off of the calculator, and that would work. So, but you'd kind of have to want to show some work, I think. So, I don't know how
So
you'd.
we'd be wrong on the test if we like didn't have work shown
No,
because
because it's on mom, so all it's going to see is that. So I guess if you typed it in wrong and I don't have any work to see how you typed it in wrong, then I won't know what you did wrong. So
gotcha.
that's going to be the key. So it's going to be the work to show later. So
Okay.
all right, let's try that one. Everybody about ready to start, or should I work this one?
I have it. I just have to use my trackpad to write it. So give me a second. Does that look right? Oh, it cut it off. Hold on.
That's a lot better than writing. Yeah. So
It
how
looks
did
easier than
so how did you decide to put these here?
So those are the x-intercepts, and since they're crossing it, you know that it's an odd multiplicity, so it's not going to be squared or anything.
And you can also know it's going to be a multiplicity of 1 because it's a straight line through those
Yeah, it's
points.
not
And
like
so,
funky looking or anything. It just looks.
yeah, yeah, and it's so that
And I
would be
know it's negative because they both go down, right, at the bottom. Does that have anything to do with the a being negative?
well, no, that has nothing to do with that. That has to do with the degree. So it's a degree of 4, and so that means they're both going to go the same direction. And so that's what that's part's meaning. And then just how it actually comes across that negative here is where it flips it over. So the negative does make it why it's pointing down, but the degree is why they're both pointing down. So yeah, and so what you initially would do probably is you would, if you were to write this, you would just start with, let me, come on, pen. There we go. You would just end up with f of x equals a times your x plus 2 times your x plus 1 times your x minus 2 times your x minus 4. And then you have to choose some point. And so she chose that point there and plugged it in, and that's what she did here. And so then we said, okay, well, minus 3 equals a times, and you plug in 0, you get 2, and then you get 1, minus 2, minus 4, and then that's when she got the a is equal to a negative 3/16, and then you just plug that back in here, and then you get your final value here. Okay. All right, any questions from anybody else? All right, let's move to the next one. You have to undo everything again. There you go. All right, so whoever's writing this, how did they decide that's how to factor it? Okay, now it wasn't wrong. It was just I just want to know how did you decide that way?
Can you explain that one for me at least, please?
Yeah, sure. So were you the one writing it?
No, it wasn't me.
Okay. Was that you, Ben?
Yeah, it was Ben. His
Okay.
mic's not working, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, so on this one, how I would start it is I would go ahead and you have to think about, can you factor this on your own without doing anything? And I can't. And so I have to think of all the P over Q's. And so if I think about that, the P's are going to be 1 and 3 and 5 and 15. And my Q's are going to be 1, 2, 4, and 8. And so I'm going to have, 1 over 1, 1 over 2, 1 over 4, 1 over 8, and then I'm going to have 3 over 1, 3 over 2, 3, 3 over 4, and then 3 over 8. And then I'll have 15 over 1, 15 over 2, 15 over 4, and 15 over 8. And these are all going to be plus or minus. So it's going to be plus or minus all of those. And so then I have to decide, okay, well, where do I start? Well, since I wrote it from left to right this way, I'm just going to start and you just start with synthetic division. And so then, so that's 8 minus 22 minus 1, 15. And then you find one until you get a 0. Now, if you can factor something out, you know what a factor is, you can do that. But I don't see a factor personally. And so I'm just going to go from left to right. And so then I have 1 times 8 is 8. That's going to give me minus 14. That's going to be a minus 14. That's a minus 15. That's a minus 15 and 0. So that gives me my first one. So that gives me x equals 1. Or if I'm writing it in factored form, x minus 1. Okay. And so now at this point, I have 8x squared minus 14x minus 15. And that's equal to 0. And so can I factor this? Well, this one I might be able to factor. I can say, well, what are factors of 8 that might work? Well, 8 and 1 would work and 2 and 4 would work. I'm going to start with 2x and 4x because those, when you have the choices between 1 and 8 and 2 and 4, it's usually the middle ones. And then 15 is probably 3 and 5. And so then I just have to test and put 3 and 5 in different places. So if I put 3 and 5 here, that's going to give me a 12. That's going to give me a 10. The difference, I don't get 14, so that doesn't work. And so then if I try 2x and 5 and 4x and 3, then I say, okay, now what do I have? Well, I have 20, and then I have 6, and if I take 20 minus 6, that's 14. But now I have to make it a negative 20, so that means that has to be a negative here and a positive here. And so up here, that's going to be 2x minus 5 and 4x plus 3. And so then I have x equals positive 5 halves and x equals a negative 3/4. And so my zeros then are at those positions there, x equals 1, 5 halves, and negative 3/4. And so
the way the homework tells you to do it is like you put it on your, you put the equation in your calculator, and it'll like one of the zeros will be normal, like the one where it's just like an even number. And you take that, like you basically skip the whole PQ thing. Is it wrong to do it that way?
well, it's not wrong because we have technology. And so if I said no technology on certain questions, then that would be not the way to do it. Because in class, we kind of learned how to find all the P's and Q's, and then you do the synthetic division until you find one that has, the 0 here. And so you would try, plus or minus 1, then you try plus or minus a half and a quarter. And, there's a lot of synthetic divisions to go through to get to all of those. So that's going to take a long time. And so, but yeah, if you did this by calculator,
I just found the first one, like I found the one by calculator, and then I don't know how to factor that. Like,
yeah,
quadratic equation, and then I got the same answers. So like the only part I used like the calculator on would be just for the first one.
right. And I don't know, I haven't actually tried this one with the calculator to see what we get. So let's just do that.
All it shows is that one of them is like obviously like a normal number, and then the other two aren't straight, like they're on
they're on some other in between lines.
Yeah. So like you just get the one where it's 1, 0, cool, and then you use that one.
Right.
I just use Desmos for it, so I don't.
And Desmos is really quick. So I don't know if I really don't want to allow you to use Desmos because it can do so much as far as calculations and the graphing. So
that's the only thing I've used it for so far is this, because it's like it's what the homework like tells you to do. If you watch the videos on the homework assignments, it tells you to do it this way. But it uses the TI-84, but I just got tired of typing it in on there on my computer. So
yeah, and I think that's just the key, is it's really just one of those things. So yeah, so we can see our zeros here. So if we trace,
I just traced the one that's clearly 1.
Yeah. And so, it on here, you can't get it very nice and even. So it's, obviously that looks like it's right at 1. That one looks like it's, somewhere between 0 and negative 1 and 0. So that's going to be, probably that's going to be your negative 3/4. And then this one's between, 2 and 3. And it looks probably like, it must be 2.5. And so, yeah, that 1 is the one that's exact. And so then at that point, if you could go ahead and do your trace there. You could say, okay, well, what is that? 0, and do it at the, where's that? Right here. So go from here to here just to make sure that it is 1. And then after that, you can, factor like you said you did anyway. So
yeah, I did the quadratic equation because like I don't know how to factor that.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's easy once you look at it, but like I don't.
Yeah, a lot of practice factoring. My other classes right now are doing a lot of factoring. So, I see that 8 and the 15, I do 2 and 4 and 3 and 5. Usually it's the middle terms that you can work with and they get the answer. Not always, but, that's the ones I work with first. And then you just, that one didn't work. So I tried that one and that's when I got the thing, and then I just had to get the right sign to make it work. So yeah, so if you can get maybe one thing that way and then do your work the other way to get the other two, that would be fine. Like it shows on here, even with Desmos, you can click on those little black circles and it'll tell you what the actual values are on each of them.
Yeah, I just don't, I guess, because especially if I'm sending you my work, like it'd be super obvious if I didn't have any work for a certain problem because I did the whole thing with Desmos. So.
So that's, P's and Q's, that's the long way about it, doing synthetic division. And then you just, hopefully you get lucky in getting the right one at the beginning. Not always happens. Obviously I would have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in before I got the next one, and then I would have had the final one after that. So, it would have taken quite a few synthetic divisions to do it. But yeah, if you do your calculator, that makes it much quicker. So all right, and then you have a plain synthetic division to do, so I'll let you do that. All right, so you've got your quotient part here, and then your remainder part here, so that looks good. Any questions on that one with anybody? All right, so that's the next one, so you're gonna have to erase your stuff.
Pretend there's a, oh no, it went away. I typed that second part and it's just gone.
All right, so
I typed like the denominator as just like a separate thing underneath it.
oh, yeah, so then basically it's just what you have here, the denominators below that. Yep. There it
Pretend
is.
there's a line there.
Well, I'll draw a line and we'll be good to go. I'll attempt to draw a line. I'll draw the line on the right page. All right, so yeah, and so this one, our vertical asymptotes, that gives us our denominator. So we'll just have the x minus 4 and x plus 5 once we write it out. Numerator is going to be the x-intercepts, so that's going to be the x minus 6 and x minus 3, and so we can have that. And then because they're equal degrees, then we know that because our horizontal asymptote is y equals 2, that's going to be what we multiply by here. And so it's going to be basically the ratio of the numerator coefficient to the denominator coefficient, and so it's 2 to 1, so you just have the 2 times that over that, and that's all it is. So really this one is really quick and gives you the equation right away without any work, as long as you remember vertical asymptotes go in the denominator, or denominator, and the zeros give you numerator, and then that, depending on if they're equal degrees, then your horizontal asymptote is going to just be that coefficient out front. All right, what about the next one? Are you typing this one up, Madeline?
Yes.
I figured so, so I was gonna keep letting you go.
Wait, is it like wrong or something?
Oh, I don't see anything yet. All right, anybody have questions on this one? How, you got anything? So basically what it is found the intercepts. So it looks like 0 and 2 are our two intercepts. And so that's what we have here. And so those are going to give us our numerator values. And so when you have x equals 0, that's just going to be x. And then with the 2, you get x minus 2. And our denominator, those are going to be your asymptotes. And so this one is kind of the opposite of what we just did here. They give us everything. This one, we have to graph it. And so our asymptotes are -3 and 5. And so that gives us x plus 3, and then x minus 5. And again, we have horizontal at 2, so that's going to be what it is equal to because our degrees do equal, like she states. And so it's just going to be 2 times x times the x minus 2 over the x plus 3 times x minus 5. Okay. Any questions? All right, how about the next one? How did you get the -6?
I graphed it and saw where it was decreasing and restricted it to the side that so that it's non-decreasing.
But if you graph it, if you think about what this is, if I can get it to give me my pin here.
Sorry,
So
I guess
this is
-7. Sorry, not negative.
okay. Yeah, I was like, that's what I was wondering.
I was just looking at it the wrong way. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it should just be here at the -7. So
Yeah,
that's
-7 is what I meant
okay.
to type,
I'll
and
do,
it won't let me like edit that. Or wait, hold on.
I don't know. Might not.
It like doesn't let you. You have to like do a whole new type box for it.
Uh, Well, we can do this.
Yeah.
There we go. And I was like, whoa, how did that come out 7?
No, I meant 7. I just looked at it wrong.
All right, so let's see. Why do we only have the positive? Why wouldn't you, when you take the square root, wouldn't it become plus and minus here?
Yeah, I didn't know how to type that.
Yeah, well, I didn't know. But when you get done, though,
It needs to be under f of x, right? Not y equals.
and then, but when you get done, yeah, well, it could be f of x or whatever. I forget what they tell us what this one's supposed to do. Find the f in, yeah, so it'd be f inverse of x is equal to the -7 plus the square root of x. Now, why did we go from plus and minus to just plus?
I meant that also was supposed to be the same thing as the one above it.
No, it's right being only the plus.
Oh, is it not? Oh,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it has to be restricted to the ones where it's not negative.
Right. So that's why. So you have to only use the plus, the negative one we can't use, and so that's why we get to here, and then that is your final one. So it bases it on where your values are and what they can do. And if you also think about this, x has to be greater than 0 as well, because if you have less than 0, then you're going to get imaginary numbers, and we're not dealing with those. So that comes into play here. It has to be greater than the -7, but then we have an even further restriction on this one where it has to be greater than that 0. So if we're wanting to have only real numbers anyway. All right, how about this one?
Does it end up being less than one of those, or is it just greater than both of those?
It's going to give you an interval notation. So you have to find your two zeros, plot that on a kind of like a line. And so then what you would have, you're going to have your whatever your two zeros are after you factor this. And then you're going to test the region. So this will be a 0, this will be a 0, then you'll have some value here, whatever that is, and it's going to be a test. You have some value here that's going to be a test, and you'll have some value here that's a test, and then you determine, is it positive or negative in each of those regions, and then based on what it says here, then you choose the ones that fit. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if I write that up here, I'll go ahead and put that here for you. So that'd be a -9, and that'll be your 11. And so then you just pick numbers here in between. So, the easy one between the negative and positive is 0. Here you could pick maybe a -10. Here you could pick maybe a 12. And then you just have to decide, what's the value of this? Is it positive or negative? And then this one positive or negative. This one's pretty easy. If you plug in zeros, it's going to be a negative. And so more than likely, this one's going to be positive and this one's positive if you actually plug those in. And so then your region is going to go from -infinity to -9, union from 11 to +infinity. Is that what you were getting?
Yes.
All right. Anybody else have questions on that one before we go on? We're almost done. All right. So two inequalities to solve. So I'm not sure there's enough room on actually this page. So, maybe we'll do one on this page and one on another page. Well, actually, I just noticed it's already 2. Do we want to stop here and just go for today? Or since you got the answers, you can kind of test yourself and see what you have or don't understand.
Can we finish this one and then be done?
Sure. Both of these?
Yeah.
All right. You want me to do one and you do one?
I already did the first one, so.
Well, okay, then I'll let you do the second one. Oh, how about you did the first one, so I'll do the second one.
Okay.
All right, so basically, looks like she had that or that. Well, actually, yours is an and kind of problem.
I never
Which,
know the difference. I don't really know how to determine.
yeah, so it's all depends on the signs. And
So if
so
it
when you have,
doesn't have equal to, it's
yeah, and so what you would do is you would take this 9x minus 7 is less than 2 and greater than negative 2, and then work it as a tripartite. And so then you'd add 7. And so then you have 5 less than 9x less than 9. So then divided by 9. And then
how
so you
come it
have,
still gets the same answer then?
yeah, I'm going to have to read what you have to make sure you have something logical. And so then this one says, if we draw it on the number line, we have 1 here, 5/9, not a positive, it's a plus, 5/9 here. So x is greater than that. So it's going to be greater than this. It's going to go that direction. But it's going to be less than that. And so it's going to go that direction. Now here, the way you have it, it's going to be less than, if you draw just on what you have on the number line, you have, this is less than 1, so it's going to be everything that direction. And this one's going to be everything greater than 5/9, so it's going to be everything that direction. So basically what you have, how yours, how yours is done is going to actually be from negative infinity to infinity based on this with the or. And so that's the key difference going down, is you're going to actually have the or giving you the positive to negative infinity, whereas and it's just going to be the pieces that go in between. So you could have done and said and here, and let's see, it has 9x, but it has to be less than, greater than negative 2. Okay, so that's how you're writing that one. Okay. But yeah, so you'd have to have and instead of or. And then when you have and, it's just the pieces that are in both. And so you're going to go from only here to here. And so then you'd have your open circle to open circle and then the stuff between them. Otherwise, when you have or and you actually would draw what's here, you would actually be doing that whole thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And then the second one, it's an or, because when you have the greater than, usually what happens is it just goes to or, and so we have the or. When you have the less than, that's usually the and that's just usually how, I mean, that's how it works. I shouldn't say usually. That's how it works. So the less than gives you the and the greater than gives you the or, and so then you have the two different things here. And so then you just work your way down and you get the two values, and then you just plot them. And because it's or, it's everything that's there. So that's why you get the whole region from negative infinity to the negative 4/3 bracket union, the negative 1/3 bracket, and to positive infinity. So, okay. All right, so what we'll do is we'll stop with that one. And again, we've got this one here. It's pretty, I can talk you through what I've done on these here if I can find my page. So basically it's another one where you have to kind of come up with a number line. And so you'll have your factors here and your factors here. And so what's going to happen is the factors on the bottom, those are going to be asymptotes. And so they'll never be there. The numerator, those are going to be your zeros. So I don't know wherever the zeros are. So those are zeros. So they actually could include those. And then you just have to choose points between all those for your tests. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tests you have to do. And so that's what's going to happen on that one. And then you just make sure when you get done that you're greater than 0. This one, calculator would work on this one. So basically what you have to do is you plot it in the calculator. And the key thing here is, as you notice that that's a very small number, you're going to go, the spaces are going to be very small. It might be like 0.0, I don't know, maybe 0.1 to zero point 0.1. So negative here and positive there. So it's going to be a very small region. And so it's going to have some kind of a funky looking shape like that. and so then you just have to find that peak, and so you just do your max, and you just kind of go around the edges until you find your max, and then your x is going to be your time in seconds, and so that's how that one would work. And then this one, we did one like this in class, and so you can check your notes to see how that one works. So hopefully that'll help you get ready for the exam for tomorrow. Any
And you
questions?
said most of the problems are like this
Yeah,
style.
yeah, they're this style. It's all going to be. It might not be these kind of numbers. It might be a different thing, but it's going to be the similar types of stuff. It's I grouped a bunch of problems together sometimes. So when you have like these two, they might be, instead of being less than here, it might be greater, and here it might be less than or equal to. So it's just going to be different kind of types of questions, but they're going to be all similar to as far as the same kind of work you have to do. The only one that's really a lot different is that very first one, and it was there's two. There's one that's multiply, one that's divide, and what came up when I did a sample test was the multiply. So
Okay.
yep, that's it.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks.